Well, next up, I want to talk about your book. I do have to warn you, I'm only at about page 100 myself, so I don't want any spoilers about if you escape the Yakuza or not. I'll find
She
out on my
lives.
own.
She lives. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. But no, like I have been reading it and just loving it so much. And I do want to, like, there is one thing I wanted to let you know, and this is a weird factoid. There's a part where you talk about a cool discussion you're having. Well, I don't know if it's cool, but it's like almost a version of Would You Rather with the Doomtree members, but you talk about Clydesdales and looking them up. Fun factoid for you and the listeners. The Budweiser Clydesdales come from Amory, Wisconsin, just south of
Yeah.
town on 46. I,
Yeah.
those are
Yeah.
that's how my mind works as I'm reading people's books, apparently. I think of Wisconsin factoids.
Huh.
um, but no, I really am interested in your book and I love it. And one of the things that really leapt out to me is the notion of like a really extensive like internal monologue you have. Like you talk about your internal monologue, but then you also have various portions where it's like Q&A sessions with yourself. Was that kind of a crux behind putting the book out, or like writing the book when you were working on it?
I mean, I think I always have sort of an active mind, you know. I think that's just probably part of the way I'm built. It feels like that's been true since I was a little kid. And you know, I've had an interest in writing probably since I was in grade school, high school. So for me, the book was, yeah, it was something I'd wanted for a really long time. You know, I'd wanted to be a published writer for like 20 years. So was very excited when the call came that a publisher was interested in my manuscript.
Well, I bet, and you've done just great work with it. I love that it's a book that's really personal and really about you, but it's not the typical like there's not an arc where I am actually wondering if you'll escape the Yakuza or well, in normal music writing if you'll escape drugs or something, but it's just about like and again, I'm not the whole way through, but it seems like it's about growth and introspection.
So the title of the book is My Own Devices, and then below that it says True Stories from the Road on Music, Science, and Senseless Love. So I always really liked science, and it's part of the way that I understand the world. Even just like when sitting in a tour van, you know, sometimes I'll try to think of the ways in what I see as I look out the window. Like, what are the scientific truths that might account for it? It's like, you know how when you go really fast on the highway, the wheels on the cars beside you, they look to spin forward, and then at a certain rate of revolution, it looks sometimes like they spin backwards.
Yeah.
Like little things like that. I'll try to figure out like why would that be true? Is that because we have a visual sample rate, and all of a sudden the revolution of the wheel exceeds the sample rate at which we are viewing the world? Yeah, I'll even just try to like think about what I know about the visual system and physics to see if I can understand that phenomenon. So in the book, there's some science like that, some kind of factoids, the sort of stuff that you could tell at a dinner party. And then there's also a love story. You know, I spent a lot of years trying to fall out of love with the same guy, and so that's kind of an arc that the rest of the tour stories fall into.
I love that. And yeah, that's coming through in that. And so I really I've never really interviewed an author before, so I don't have a lot of pat questions about that. But it's rad. It's so rad reading your book and just getting to know your thought process through it. It's really really impressive. Well, let's chat about the show that you have coming up here just next week here in Eau Claire. It's at the Metro. What can fans expect for that night?
Yeah, so I'll be playing at the Metro, and I'll be playing with my full band. So we've got like three-part harmonies and live guitar and keys and drums, and we'll be doing a lot of music from the Badly Broken Code record, and from Parts of Speech, and from Chime, and from some newer stuff too. We put out a couple of singles this summer, and we're actually rehearsing in just a moment to get those tour ready. So
when you said guitar,
yeah.
are you having Matthew play with you again? The gentleman I saw play with you in Amory?
Yeah, Matthew Santos will be there. He actually plays keys in this version of the band.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and there's a dude named Sam who plays guitar and Johnny on drums. So yeah, we'll have a really full sound. And the opening band is comprised of those three dudes. It's called Moniker. They're awesome. It's really, really catchy stuff. So come early enough to catch the opener if schedules permit. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, we're kind of an early bird around here, so we're more likely to catch the opening act than other necks of the woods. So yeah, we'll definitely be there. Looking forward to it. This has just been a complete treat. Thank you so much for chatting with me today. Do you have anything that you'd like to say out to Western Wisconsin before we go?
I'll see you at the Metro.
I dig that. Well, thank you so much for chatting today. Let's hear a few songs on the way out. You've really been playing Good Grief a lot lately, and it's been an art heavy rotation. Can you give me a little bit of background on that track?
Yeah, I'd been scrolling on Spotify actually, and there I had seen something with the words "good grief" in it, and I thought, man, that's such an unusual phrase. People use it in an offhanded way, but it's so counterintuitive to imagine that grief would ever be good. It just hurts so much. So I wrote the song in part as a response to that kind of hallmark approach to pain, where I think a lot of us looking over our shoulders at past painful experiences say things like, "Oh, I'm so glad that I was shaped, by this trial. I wouldn't undo it if I could." But nobody volunteers for a new car accident or a new divorce. I think in some ways we just render past pain palatable by wrapping it in a lesson, because we certainly don't run around looking for new lessons. So this song sort of explores that idea that pain is curative.
I love that, and I love, the curative nature. That is so good, and the idea that we're trying to search for something in our pain to make us better, because otherwise it's just like, I don't know what it. Yeah, exactly, and it's just like BS in the past. That's so good. Here's Good Grief right here on Converge Radio. Well, Dessa, thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Thanks for having me on. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon.